This is Stefan Moleszewski from nfldrafthunger.com. I'm with...
I'm William Boyd. I'm from my blog, NFL Draft and Prospects.
Okay, so, I'm going to go with the first pick. Texans, of course, the draft needs his quarterback. But, also, there's Jadeveon Clowney, which I'm going to just head right into it. A lot of people probably will get mad at me for saying this. Big Texas A&M fan, but I'm going to have to go with number one pick, Jadeveon Clowney.
Great pick.
Yeah, he's just got it all athleticism. And I've heard, Khalil Mack because of 3-4 defense, but Jadeveon can do that.
Clowney.
Yeah, dude, he's freaking beast.
Yeah.
So you have anything to say on that one?
It's the smart pick. Even though it says, the Texans GM prefers Khalil Mack, that's just a huge smokescreen. They're going to pick Clowney. I think they would be making the wrong pick if they didn't pick Clowney.
Yeah, and a guy that I follow on Twitter, Shane Hallam, he just says, don't listen to anything before the draft. Like 1 week before the draft, it's a bunch of, baloney, pretty much.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so we got number 2, the Rams. What do you think their draft needs are? You're a big Rams fan, right?
Yes, I am. Rams needs probably are something along probably they need another wide receiver. The Brian Quick project's not working out. It's supposed to be the next T.O. That's a bunch of baloney. He's not that big of a receiver, so the Rams need to go and find a bigger receiver that they can use in the red zone. Also, cornerback or safety, those are two huge needs. Although they have T.J. McDonald, who's an up-and-coming safety, they need somebody else to put alongside of him. And cornerback, they need, since they just released Janoris Jenkins, they need somebody to go alongside, they released Cortland Finnegan. Now, it'd be bad if they released Janoris Jenkins. He's very good. They need somebody to go alongside him, but they wouldn't go cornerback or safety, so I'm going to take wide receiver Sammy Watkins with the second overall pick.
Well,
he's the best overall wide receiver. Do you have anything to say to that?
Well, I mean, yeah, he is the best wide receiver, but you can also go offensive tackle Greg Robinson, which is what I have. There's a big ceiling on him. I mean, of course, Jake Matthews is probably the better right now, but in the future, I'd probably say Greg Robinson, athlete.
Yeah, I actually have Jake Matthews as my number one tackle, although I have a feeling teams will draft Robinson over Jake Matthews, so I mocked Robinson ahead of Matthews.
Yeah, I saw that.
I can see the Rams taking Robinson or Matthews as the second overall pick, but honestly, I think the Rams need to trade down because there's not really picking Watkins at second is a bit of a stretch, but I mean, I don't really think the Rams need any more help along the offensive line, and Watkins just seems like the right idea to me. So now we have the Jaguars at number 3. Where are you going with them?
Number 3, Jaguars. They need a quarterback, of course, but that's what I'm gonna go with. My man, Johnny Manziel.
Interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen a lot of people go with Khalil Mack, but I'm not really impressed with the quarterback class as many people are. I just don't think I don't think it's deep.
Yeah, I think there's a few at the top, like the top tier guys like Teddy Bridgewater, Derek Carr, Bortles, and then Manziel. I actually have Manziel as my fourth rated quarterback. So, but I can see why you would pick Manziel there. He'll probably revitalize the franchise and sell a lot of tickets.
Yes, he would. Yes, he would. Okay. What about Browns? Go.
All right, so Browns need a quarterback or just somebody on the offense. They're probably a bit upset to see Watkins go at number 2 because they could easily have picked him at 4, and then at 26 they could go quarterback. But my gut tells me that they'll probably steer away from Teddy Bridgewater, even though I think he's the better quarterback. So I think that the Browns will probably go with quarterback Blake Bortles.
Blake Bortles. Okay. Blake Bortles, high ceiling, of course, big quarterback. I'm with you. Teddy Bridgewater, I don't understand the whole droppage with him. I know he had a bad pro day. I understand all that, but just flip it on. Flip on the video of him, and he's the better quarterback. I mean, I don't understand it.
By far. Like I watched his game I watched his Champ Sports Bowl game, and I was just, that performance in that game was just insane.
Yeah, I think we go off too many measurables with a big quarterback. I mean, he ain't big. I'll tell you that. He ain't big. But
right. But he has all the intangibles needed in a quarterback, and he's very good. So now we got the Raiders at 5. I feel like the Raiders are probably one of the harder teams to choose for because you really have no idea where their head's at and who they'll go with. So who are you going to go with there?
The Raiders, of course they need a quarterback, but let's just go. I would go with the best available player, which is Khalil Mack.
Good choice there.
And a freak athlete on the outside, come in to tackle, very good. He drops good in coverage. I just think in the early rounds, in the first round, I go off a little bit best available player. And then the later rounds you attack what you need. That's what I think. That's what I go with.
Yeah, Khalil Mack is just, he's had a very mediocre rise to the top of the draft, and I feel like the Raiders would be thrilled to have Khalil Mack there. Although I feel like, not to bash on the Raiders or any Raiders fans, but they're probably going to do something that's just off the wall and just
like what?
Never understand what they'll do.
Could you give us a little off the wall kind of pick for them?
Maybe they'll, like in my mocks, I have Aaron Donald going there. It's not too off the wall, but it's kind of like, it's one of those head scratchers. Like, all right, you have other needs. You don't really need to go defensive line, but I feel like Aaron Donald could be something. Maybe go with, like, since a lot of people aren't high on Derek Carr, maybe go with Derek Carr. Something along those lines.
Do you believe they're not interested in Blake Bortles or Johnny Manziel?
I feel like they're probably very interested in Johnny Manziel because, I mean, now they'll have basically if you draft Johnny Manziel, your fan base will be revitalized and you'll sell a lot of tickets because you'll want to see him play. Bortles, I mean, I could see him going to the Raiders, but I have a feeling that he's more suited with the Browns or maybe even like the Vikings or maybe even the Texans. I don't know if the Texans would trade back into the first round, but if they were really in love with Bortles, because Bill O'Brien loves that big quarterback and that offensive system, so maybe they'd fall so much in love with Bortles that they trade back up into the first round. But I feel like the Raiders have either Manziel, Bridgewater, or Derek Carr.
Okay, number six, we got Atlanta.
So they're probably ecstatic to see both Jake Matthews and Greg Robinson fall right to them.
Yeah.
So I feel like this would be a very easy choice for them. Since most draft scouts are probably more interested in Greg Robinson, I have a feeling that the Falcons would go Greg Robinson with this pick. He's a big offensive lineman. He's good in pass rush. He's good in run block. All the film I've seen of him, he's been fantastic, especially in that Auburn offense with Nick Marshall and Trey Mason. He was always a solid guy on the left side, and it was always somebody that they could rely on.
Do you think the Falcons could ever, move up in the draft here?
I think if Clowney falls to the Rams at 2, the Falcons are immediately getting, as soon as that pick is called and if it's not Clowney, the Falcons are getting on their phone immediately and offering the Rams a trade. Mm-hmm. I have a feeling. Because I would be ecstatic if the Rams got Clowney, but there really isn't much need for Clowney for the Rams. I know you probably wouldn't want Clowney to fall past the Texans.
He ain't falling past the Texans. He ain't falling past the Texans. Do you? Oh, I forgot to say this. Do you think? I was hearing a little bit that Khalil Mack will get drafted before Clowney. I don't believe that at all. But
I think that once again that's a huge smokescreen. If that happened, I would be very surprised. I mean, you never really know with the Texans organization because they might see somebody that they really like. Because like in 2006 when they had the first overall pick, they went with Mario Williams over Reggie Bush, and that turned out really well.
And Vince Young. We were all screaming in Texas Vince Young on that one.
So who knows? Maybe the Texans know something we don't, and they'll find a better prospect. But who knows?
Well, Tampa Bay, I got them. They need offensive tackle, even offensive guard, and even like a cornerback. But Jake Matthews is there. I'm taking him.
Good pick there.
He's like we said before, he's the most. I couldn't say safe pick because there's no safe pick I think in the draft. But if there is one, it's him.
Absolutely.
And I've watched him every single game with Texas A&M. That's my favorite team. So
yeah, that makes sense. So I bet you were loving Texas A&M this past year.
Yeah, but you have Johnny Manziel and Mike Evans, and still, you don't win the big ones, but whatever.
Right. All right, so Vikings at 8. I mean, there's no doubt in my mind they'll go quarterback here. Feel like Derek Carr still may be a little bit too high for him. Already 2 quarterbacks gone off the board, so I feel like they got to go Teddy Bridgewater here. He's definitely the best quarterback in the draft by far, in my opinion. As you said earlier, his fall because of his pro day is just ridiculous. You can't judge a player off of one pro day. Like, that's just bizarre and ridiculous. So.
And they say he has some character problems. He's kind of a weird guy, I would say, personality-wise.
He's very quiet. Yeah. I actually had to. I wrote something about Teddy Bridgewater. He's a really good quarterback, and he lets his play talk for him. But he's just very quiet and just lets everything happen, and all the shenanigans go to other people. So, but yeah. Bridgewater, I feel like, is by far the best quarterback in this draft.
Okay, the Bills. Who do we have on the Bills here? You could go. I'm gonna go wide receiver. Mike Evans on this one.
Good call. Giving E.J. Manuel more weapons.
Yes, and I know go offensive tackle maybe Lawan because so protect the quarterback a little bit more, but I would have to say my big play guy would be Mike Evans.
Yeah, Mike Evans is. I could see him going as high as number 5 to the Raiders. Like if the Raiders fell in love with Mike Evans, then they could take him. But I feel like at number 9, Evans is a great pick.
And 3 Texas A&M people go in the top 10 right now.
That's insane. That's probably. Is that a record? Would you know?
No, I don't know. I'd be glad if it was a record.
Yeah. So Lions at number 10.
Yes, we're Lions. Yeah.
There's a lot of talk with wide receiver and like could they give Matthew Stafford another weapon alongside Megatron, Boria, and Golden Tate? That would be ridiculous if they did, because then their receiving core would be insane.